Hello everyone, welcome to Everything Arsenal. We have to talk about David Raya. He has been unreal for us so far this season and he definitely deserves some flowers. Raya's start to the season has been absolutely incredible, keeping 4 clean sheets from the opening 5 games. Now, fair enough. Arsenal's back four has been as solid as it always has been over the last couple of years, so it's not only David Raya. Saliba was phenomenal against Aston Villa, Gabriel and Timber were outstanding against Tottenham in the North London derby. Arteta's setup in terms of the defensive shape has always been on point and we always defend as a team, so all that is quite true. But many will agree that Raya has been the biggest reason why Arteta's side has conceded just 1 goal in 5 games so far. And that 1 goal came when Arsenal were down to 10 men against Brighton, and even in that situation, Raya actually made the one-on-one save and Brighton had to score from the rebound. If we take a look at Raya's rating so far this season according to FortMob, 8.2 against Wolves on opening day, followed by 8.1 against Aston Villa, a 7.5 rating against Brighton, 8.4 against Tottenham, and 8.7 in the Champions League opener against Atalanta. That is an average rating of 8.2, which is absolutely crazy. In comparison to last season, he had a rating of over 8 just twice in the entirety of last year. He has reached that mark 4 times already this campaign. And just as a side note, he played both Nations League games for Spain during the September international break, keeping a clean sheet against Serbia, and in both games he had an average rating of 7.3. So even internationally he has been delivering the numbers so far. It's safe to say his start to the season has been world class, and it's easy to forget that this is actually his first season as a permanent Arsenal player, having just completed the 27 million move in the summer. I want us to track back a little bit to last season. Everyone would agree that when the news came out about David Raya joining Arsenal on loan from Brentford, it was shocking for a couple of reasons. One, many believed that we didn't even need another goalkeeper. Yes, Matt Turner was leaving, but everyone thought, listen, we're only going to get a backup goalkeeper. We already have Aaron Ramsdale, and Aaron Ramsdale has been great for us for a couple of seasons, so why get another goalkeeper? And if we had to get a replacement for Matt Turner, it would be a clear second choice goalkeeper, and not anyone who's even in the Premier League and playing first team football for a Premier League team. But Raya wasn't a goalkeeper you could look at as a clear-cut second choice. It was either he was coming to replace Aaron Ramsdale or they would rotate with Ramsdale, as Arteta had suggested. In the season before, he had the best save percentage of any Premier League goalkeeper at 77%, and he made 154 saves for Brentford, which was also the most in the Premier League. It was an uncomfortable and tough position for anyone who was involved to be in. Mikel Arteta, every single press conference he kept being asked about Raya and Ramsdale, and the scrutiny was over the top from the media. Aaron Ramsdale, how would he feel? He had been incredible for Arsenal and he was one of the reasons why Arsenal was now challenging for the league. And David Raya, signing him from Brentford, top goalkeeper, both of those goalkeepers trying to be the first choice for their countries. How would he feel? Would he be happy being on the bench? Would he ask questions about why he left Brentford? It was a tough position for anyone to be. And how would the rest of the players feel? Players like Gabriel and Saliba and Ben White, they all had a very good relationship with Ramsdale. Would they be comfortable with another goalkeeper coming in? All that had to be taken into account. Now, Raya eventually made his debut against Everton and 3 days later started the UCL game against PSV, and on that same weekend he played against Tottenham in the North London derby. It quickly became evident that he was Arsenal's number 1, but the pressure was still on. Any mistake would be pointed out and talk about Ramsdale regaining his position would pop up again. The media did not let this bit go. Like the whole of last year, between August and December, the talk about Ramsdale and Raya everywhere he looked was absolutely crazy. Like even on Arsenal won 3-0, 4-0, that talk was always there, so it was very, very uncomfortable. Talk like, why did Arteta fix something that was not broken? Like that is the word, that was the phrase that was going around. Fast forward to December when Arsenal had to come back from behind to beat Luton 4-3. Safe to say that was David Raya's worst performance in an Arsenal shirt so far. He was blamed for all 3 goals, and in terms of corners from Luton, he really struggled. There was talk about other teams potentially targeting him, the way we've been speaking about other teams targeting Zinchenko's left hand side when it comes to defending. There was a lot of talk about teams taking advantage of David Raya's frailties when it came to handling corner kicks and free kicks, and it was a mess. Actually, how bad was that performance, you ask? The entire Premier League last season, that had the lowest rating. He was the player that had the lowest rating in a game, and it was that performance. Out of any other player in any other game, that was the lowest rating of any player that season. Now, in the turn of the year, Arsenal started winning game after game after game, and it was forgotten a bit, but there was always talk about Ramsdale potentially regaining his position again. That talk never ever went away, and it's not a stretch to say that that Champions League game against FC Porto at home was the first time the fan base was united when it came to David Raya after his 2 penalty kick saves against them. He pretty much helped us get to the Champions League quarterfinal for the first time since 2010. That was big for Arteta, big for the players, and big for the fans. The rest of the season was up and down ever since he made his debut against Everton last season, up until he played against the same opponents in the final game of the campaign. Now, despite all that, he won the Golden Glove and became the 3rd Arsenal goalkeeper after Szczesny and Petr Cech to do that in Premier League history. But even after that, the quote was, "It's the defense and not Raya." Everyone, especially the rival fans, they were talking about Gabriel, Saliba, Ben White, and anyone else who played in Arsenal's defense being the reason why Arsenal, kept the most clean sheets, and not really David Raya. People say David Raya was never really tested. He isn't a good goalkeeper, so there was still a lot to talk even after he won the Golden Glove. But fast forward to the summer, he obviously won the Euros. Now, he didn't contribute too much. He only featured in 1 game, but he still won the Euros, and that was a big achievement for him. Coming back to the next season and, being more hungry for more titles and more trophies, obviously. Now, we have seen that so far this season. Now to the 2024-2025 season. Ramsdale was still there for the opening 2 games against Wolves and Aston Villa. He still hadn't left the club yet, and so the pressure was still there. He still knew we still have the Ramsdale problem, and there's a lot of things I've left out. Like Ramsdale dad doing that interview last season and a lot of media talk. So all that takes away from the concentration levels of Ramsdale, of Raya, and knowing the other goalkeeper is there. How is the other goalkeeper feeling? It was all tough. So after Ramsdale eventually left before the transfer window closed, or just before the transfer window closed, right before he played Brighton, that was the first time that David Raya has had no pressure from Aaron Ramsdale since he joined Arsenal. So I could say that is one of the main reasons why David Raya is feeling so comfortable so far this season. Let's start with the Wolves game. David Raya was moving to the opposite direction, but showed his quick reaction and strong hand to stop Strand Larsen's goal-bound header to his right. Now, that would have made the game 1-1 and could have changed the game a bit. 1-1 heading into halftime, you never know what could have happened. The crowd's reaction and receptions towards Raya and the save was great to see, and it gave him confidence for sure. He also made a save from Cunha after Saliba's error in the second half. In the very next game, he made a world-class save against Aston Villa. That save against Watkins won the Premier League Save of the Month. And he actually had 2 nominations that month, including his save against Wolves as well. So to have 2 nominations for Save of the Month is absolutely incredible. If Aston Villa took the lead in that situation, it was already in the second half, the game would definitely have taken a different direction. Aston Villa would have led 1-0, and all the memories of them beating us twice last season would have come back, and who knows, they would have beaten us 3 times in a row. But those incredible reflexes helped us eventually win that game 2-0, and it was a big factor. David Raya is definitely a big factor. The save against Brighton the very next game, it could have been 2-1 to Brighton right after we went down to 10 men. Obviously, Brighton had the more chances after that, and they scored from the rebound to make it 1-1. And Yasin Ayari had an opportunity in this situation, but David Raya saved us once again from going behind in that game. Crucial save and catches, and he dealt well with crosses against Tottenham, the high claims. He made 5 saves in the North London derby, 4 inside the box, and the very next game against Atalanta, where he really performed some magic for sure. Like that was a magic save. This is what Arteta had to say. Those are the best saves I've ever seen. So when a manager, who's he's been a player for a long time, he's been involved in the football business a long time, when he gets such compliments from different people, it has to feel really, really good. And we are only 5 games into the season, but you can already tell that the connection with the fans has rapidly improved. The David Raya that we had last season in terms of connection with the fans, to the one that we have so far this with the connection to the fans, is quickly becoming a fan favorite. And now people are starting to say, I see why Ramsey was sold and Raya replaced him. Atta made a good decision. So all that will give him a lot more confidence, and it's great. It will be very, very huge for us if we already have a good defense, and if we have another great goalkeeper to go with that. Most of the teams that end up winning titles usually have great goalkeepers, and he recently had a birthday as well. He just turned 29. That is the prime of your goalkeeper career, so I cannot wait to see what more he has throughout this season. Now hopefully he doesn't have to make too many more world-class saves. Obviously we hope that our defense does the job and he doesn't have to make too many saves, but there's going to come situations where he has to make those saves for us. But so far, so good.